Alright, welcome to the first episode of its kind on my channel. I'm going to do a TV show episode review and talk about certain points or highlights from the episode I wanted to discuss. And the one that I chose was Black Lightning Season 1 Episode 2, LaWanda, the Book of Hope. That's the name of it. There were 7 or 8 things that I thought were interesting to talk about. And the first one, number 1, is actually something from the premiere, last week's episode that I forgot about but wanted to bring up again in this one. And that was the fact that in the premiere, the pilot episode, there was a scene where Black Lightning or someone, it was either Black Lightning or that friend of his, Gombi, I think his name is, the only white guy on the show who of importance, the guy who builds his suit. They were watching a TV report, or there was a scene where that was on there, and the person was saying, talking about Black Lightning, the newscaster, saying, why is it that, when it's a black superhero, we call him a vigilante, but when it's other superhero people with powers, they're called superheroes? And I think the show is trying to touch on the fact that, racism or discrimination exists even the way people view superheroes, because Jefferson Pierce is a black man, when he's a superhero, when he has superpowers, he's called a vigilante. But I guess when Caucasian people have superpowers and go out in costumes, they're called superheroes. And that's actually interesting on that level too, if the show wants to discuss, how people view superheroes of color in this universe. But it also highlights the fact that this show does take place in a different universe in the Arrowverse, because I think on Arrow, when Oliver Queen puts on his outfit as the Green Arrow and fights crime in the streets at night, I think people refer to him as a vigilante too. I don't think he's seen as like a superhero. And I think there have been episodes where the police have been trying to get him. So I think that might be a reason why they made Black Lightning in its own universe, because then it would kind of mess things up, because in other superhero shows on the CW with DC, white superheroes are vigilantes too. So this whole argument that if you're a black superhero, you're automatically a vigilante, that would kind of cancel that out, because white people are vigilantes too when they do it, at least in the Arrowverse. So I guess that does make sense that they would put Black Lightning in a separate universe, because that's the only way they'd be able to make that argument. Number 2, Lin and Jefferson's relationship. This was touched on in the pilot episode, the premiere, and in this episode continues it. And I have a feeling this is going to be Lin, a big part of Lin's story arc throughout the season. Her relationship with Jefferson Pierce and how they, I guess, broke up or divorced or whatever because she was unhappy with the superhero lifestyle, what that caused, him and their relationship and their daughters, basically their family. But I wonder, it's obvious that Lin and Jefferson are still attracted to each other and into each other and still love each other and are this close to getting back together. In this episode, they totally want to be together. And I think it would work because they are believable as a couple to me and as two people who really, like each other. So I'm wondering if the whole her not liking him being Black Lightning, how much that excuse is going to carry, how much that reason is going to carry away for them to be apart, because she almost didn't seem like she cared that much. She kind of encouraged him, or was really behind him when he suited up to save their daughters. Understandably, what mother wouldn't? But I think that their daughters are going to be in situations like this a lot more often throughout the show, because their father's a superhero. And she doesn't know this yet, but they're getting superpowers too, and they're going to get mixed up in this. And she's probably going to be encouraging Jefferson to save our daughters again, over and over again. So I like the character of Lin, although I hope that she doesn't fall into the trap of them not knowing what to do with her beyond, will they or won't they get together, which is kind of the danger when you're the love interest in a superhero show. A lot of people like to focus on, the female character who's a love interest of a superhero, or the main character of a show being underwritten. But I think any character, even if it was male, who's the boyfriend or husband or whatever of a female superhero, would fall into the same trap. In the old Wonder Woman show with Linda Carter, her love interest was Steve Trevor, sort of, kind of, right? But, Steve Trevor didn't really have much to do in that show. It was all about Linda Carter. So, I'm wondering if the show, will they have trouble doing something with Lin farther down the line? I know she mentioned in this show that she's a neuroscientist, so I think they're giving her, some kind of job or career path that might allow her to play a role in the show besides being someone's wife or mother, where, because she knows science and stuff, she can, be a part of inventions or stuff like that and, play more of a crucial role in that aspect. I think it's cool that she's the wife and the mother. I'm not one of the people who has a problem with people being significant others to superheroes. But I wonder, so, I think there's a lot of, family drama and stuff that could happen with her just being that. But I do wonder what they're going to do with their relationship. Because these are two people, there doesn't really seem to be much in the way of them getting back together. I mean, but they're going to have to find reasons, I guess, to keep them apart in order to make that work. And speaking of reasons to keep them apart, number 3. That teacher, the one who had that green shirt and the black dress or black pants, I think she's totally into Jefferson and she wants to hook up with him or make him hers. And I think she might be an obstacle in Jefferson and Pierce and Lin's relationship going on because I think she's totally into him. I don't know if the show might do something else with her, like to maybe have her become a supervillain or get mixed up in a plot, but I think she has a hots for him. And she might be kind of like an obstacle for him and Lin getting back together. So, I don't know. They want to keep... Well, I don't know. I guess maybe Lin should keep an eye on her. Jefferson might love keeping an eye on her. If you know what I mean. But anyways, that's number 3. Number 4. In Tobias Wells' first scene in this episode, he says something like... What's the line he says? Like he talks about the Darkies. And then Lala comments like, man, you really don't like black people or dark-skinned people. So... That's evidence to me. I mean, I already knew, but this show probably has a lot of black writers or black people in the writer's room, not just the producers and stuff. But I think like this show touches on a lot of, race relations even between other members of the black community amongst each other. Because, Tobias Whale is like, he's albino, but he's still black. And he's showing racism towards people who are darker than he is. And in order for them to address that, I guess that subject matter with the delicacy or the nuance it needs, I think that it helps to have writers of color on the show to even bring that up in the first place. And I think that's interesting. Black Lightning's probably going to go to places that other CW shows don't want to go to or can't, or maybe are ill-equipped to go to because they just aren't designed for that. But I thought that was a very interesting line, and I'm curious to see how they develop and run with this with Tobias Wells' character going forward. And speaking of Tobias Wells, my next point, he has superpowers. At the end of this episode, he uses his bare hands to choke Lala to death in prison. And I was wondering, I haven't read the Black Lightning comics, so I don't know whether or not Tobias Wells does or does not have powers in the comics. But in the show, he first appeared as a regular, human businessman. And I thought he was gangster. And I thought he was going to be that kind of bad guy. Like Lex Luthor or something. The supervillain who doesn't have powers, but whose superpower is just being well connected and having a lot of high-tech weapons and stuff. But given that he was with one hand able to choke a man to death, and he doesn't look like someone who's strong enough to do that physically to an adult male, makes me think that Tobias Wells does have super strength and other superpowers. And if so, that's good because that would make him, I think, more of a believable menace to someone like Black Lightning who does have superpowers. I mean, Black Lightning is shown in this episode. He walked into this building and fought all these guys with guns and stuff with his lightning powers, and he was able to do it pretty much unfazed. So, what's to stop him from walking right up to Tobias Wells and just beating the crap out of him? Unless Tobias Wells has superpowers. So I'm thinking smart that the writers and producers and directors gave him some abilities. He might have already had him in the comics, like I said, but I haven't read any Black Lightning comics, so I didn't know that. So it was a surprise to me that Tobias Wells had powers in here. Next point. We have confirmation in this episode that Anissa Pierce, Jefferson Pierce's oldest daughter, does like women, just like she does in her comics counterpart. And I was wondering if the show would go that far to be true to the LGBT aspect of, the Anissa Pierce character. And they are. And I had a feeling they were when, I did an earlier video about an actress being cast, Chantal Thuy, as Grace Choi, a superhero from the comics who is in a relationship with Anissa Pierce in the comics. And so when I found out they were casting that character for the show, I was like, okay, so they're going to go that route, maybe. Are they going to have them be just, good friends, or are they going to have them be in a relationship? And it looks like they were. And I give props to the Black Lightning show and the CW for having the guts to be true to this relationship. But that shouldn't be a surprise to me. I mean, they've done it with other CW and DC shows before. I mean, the White Canary in Legends of Tomorrow, she's openly into women and they don't shy away from that. So, and on Arrow, the guy who plays Mr. Terrific, I think his character, he's gay, he's into men. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that, you know, Black Lightning went there in this, because the CW and DC have shown that they are totally willing to go there. Next point, LaWanda herself. Her name is the title of this episode, and I thought it was surprising and quite shocking that they killed her off in this episode. I mean, I know her character, she seemed like, I felt kind of bad for her. I thought she was going to be someone who would, you know, survive and live to the end and be, you know, happily reunited with her daughter when Black Lightning rescues her daughter. I mean, because that's what he's trying to do. And I assume, because superhero shows, well, in the past, and a lot of times they kind of are bright and hopeful. And I thought that, you know, Black Lightning would rescue her daughter and she'd be with her mother again and they would all be tied up with a neat bow. But this show is not going there. They're being hardcore. They're going to show that life on the street and crime is tough. It's brutal, because they killed off a character that I think a lot of us weren't expecting to get killed off and didn't want to. And I think that's because this show is trying to show it like it is. For risk of, I don't mean to sound corny or anything, but I think that's exactly why the showrunners decided to kill her off. To not shy away from that. The fact that, you know, gang violence and stuff, people, even good people or people you don't want to die. Although, you know, LaWanda kind of maybe shouldn't have been too bold with that camera phone, right? That smartphone. Jefferson tried to warn her, but she wasn't trying to hear it, and look what happened. My last point, when Jennifer was on the roof of, you know, their house talking to that guy who's going to be her boyfriend, she mentions to him, you know, when Black Lightning rescued her and her sister in the previous episode, how she saw Black Lightning, but she couldn't make out his face because when it looked at his face, I forgot what she said. It's like she was looking at a camera flash or something. And I'm glad they put that in there, because otherwise it was completely ridiculous in last week's episode that she and her sister didn't recognize their own father. I mean, he had on a face mask and an outfit, but like, come on, you don't know that what your dad looks like when you're like 2 feet in front of him? And I was like, please. But now this show has explained that when people look at Black Lightning, because of his powers or whatever, messes with their, you know, ability to perceive him with their vision or whatever. And so now that they put that in there, it makes total sense. And they need to put that in there. And I think they understood that, otherwise it would be ludicrous that, you know, all these people who know Jefferson Pierce, who see him very often, every day, don't recognize him as soon as he puts on an outfit with an eye mask that shows the whole bottom half of his face, and the top of his head is exposed. You can see his haircut. It's like, come on, like nobody's going to know who that is. So thank you, Black Lightning writers and directors and producers, for understanding that. Because it needed there. That would have been as ridiculous as people not being able to know that Clark Kent is Superman. I love Superman, but I think I and a lot of other people always thought that was so silly. But with Superman, you have to have that suspension of disbelief. And I know in the comics there are reasons, like in old comic books, the classic ones, Superman, when he was Clark Kent, he would like hunch over and purposely try to do things so that people physically wouldn't be able to recognize him. But even then, I don't think that would work. And so the Black Lightning people got that, and they put in a reason in the plot why people can't recognize him when all he does is do this. Put on a mask that covers his eyes, basically. I mean, anybody who knows you is going to still be able to know it's you with that on there. So thank you. You guys are smart. But anyways, that was my very first review discussion of an episode by going by just different talking points. I hope that worked. It's the first time I did that. I hope you found that interesting. But that's, I think, the best way for me to discuss episode by episode certain TV shows. And I might do more of it. I know I watched Black Lightning, and what better way to talk about it than this format? And I might do other shows like this. So let me know if you like it, or, you know, if you want to see more videos like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your viewership. And if you want to watch me make more videos about DC movies and TV shows, stay tuned, because I'm going to do them. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day or night. Bye.